Welcome to the DTB podcast presented by Bless Your Heart Nonprofit Corporation. I'm Jeray Jean Bonjaro, Director of Bless Your Heart Nonprofit, and filling in for our regular host, Brennan Mathern. Considering we live in a coastal community through which a bayou flows, there are two topics which are always at the forefront of our conversations: fishing and coastal erosion. Today's guest is someone we would consider to be an expert on both topics. Aaron Pierce, a Down the Bayou native, who is the owner and operator of Horsemen Tackle, Horsemen Guide Service, and an employee of RES, a company who specializes in coastal restoration efforts across the Gulf Coast. Aaron, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, I'm glad to be here.
So, Aaron, we ask the same question every time. We want to know the standard Down the Bayou introduction. Who are your parents? Where did you grow up? What high school you graduated from?
Yeah, parents are Lynn and Ann Pierce. My mom's from Golden Meadow. My dad's from Cutoff. And wife is Dana Pierce. And I got two daughters, Berkeley, who is 13, and Bryn, who is 11. I grew up in Cutoff, and I went to South Lafourche High School, graduated in 1993. And then I went off to Louisiana Tech and got a degree in ag business from Tech in 98. And then I went off to LSU and got a master's in oceanography in 2001.
So what, like with those college degrees, what were your plans?
Really, just kind of my main focus was just trying to get a job that I like to do, you know. So when I was in college, I started working with Steve Shook, helping him on a fishing guide in 1995. And then in 96, I was able to get my license and start doing his overflow fishing guide. So when I graduated from Louisiana Tech, I didn't really like any jobs that was out there. So I just came back home and just kept on guiding full time. And then I got to take the department head of oceanography department fishing, and he encouraged me to come get a master's with him in his program.
Oh, wow.
So I said, all right. So there I went in 1999, started at LSU, and got a master's in oceanography.
So tell me how, like, your master's in oceanography, tell me how that transitions into you getting with coastal restoration efforts.
So the oceanography is more about the fishing, currents and estuaries, how that flows, how that works. The plants and restoration is more of my ag business, plant science. So I had a plant science minor.
Right.
So that really helped me in doing the nursery. So that's kind of how I look at it.
Gotcha. I'm sure that oceanography master's definitely helps in your guide service and your tackle business, which I'll self-admit that I don't know a ton about, but will be a great opportunity for you to educate me and our listeners on what makes Horsemen Tackle competitive in the tackle market. So tell me, how do you even get started with that?
Well, so we use a lot of popping corks in the marsh, and there was always a lack of a decent product. You know, the wire bends, doesn't make any noise, you know, you just can't cast it, and every trip you change them out. And actually it was me and Roger Dowdy, he's still part owner of the company, Similet, and we started messing with the corks, making our own stuff, putting different beads, different wires, different components on the bottom of the cork. And we make some and we give some to some of the other fishing guys to test out. And I told myself, if I can convince them to switch and use those corks, then I have something. Because those are the guys that use them every day. And all of 2017, we tested corks like on their strength, on their sound, on the combination of everything. Mm-hmm. You know, durability, sound, and you can cast it and also help with not tangling up as much. Especially customers, you know, they haven't fished much and it's just a pain in the butt. They can't cast it right. It gets all tangled up. I even went as far as getting into my dad's pool and getting into the water and popping the cork and listening to the sound to make sure I knew the sound that I wanted. a trout or redfish hitting the surface makes a unique popping noise, and or a shrimp popping on the surface that's running from a trout or redfish.
Right.
So I want to make sure I created that certain pop. And finally, in 2017, the combination of the epoxy on the bottom, the beads, the wire length, the wire size, finally got that right pop. And I gave them to a bunch of guides. They started using them. I said, look, I'll make about 500. And I'll make a post on Facebook, and y'all just share it for me. See what happens. And in 3 days, they were gone.
That's amazing.
Next thing you know, got all these guides calling me. Hey, man, I want some. Can you make me some? Make me some. And they really liked the way it sounded, the pop, and just kind of just took off from there.
So where did you come up with the name for Horsemen Tackle?
So Four Horsemen it was four of us in a group text that's all been fishing over 20 years. And while we fishing, we just text each other. Hey, you catch anything? No. Or no, hey, I'm tearing the fish up. Or the water's dirty here. Don't come over here.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just a way of communicating while we were on fishing trips. And one of the guys named it the Four Horsemen. So that was the name of the group text. So as I'm developing the kayak, that group name stayed. And kind of came close to the end where I was about to start selling these kayaks, but I had no name. I had nothing.
Right.
But I always wanted to come up with something catchy, something different. And three of us was just finished a trip, finished cleaning our fish, and one of the guys that wasn't there texted us at the same time that one of them again asked me what I was going to name the company, Popping Guard. And when I looked at my phone, it said Four Horsemen. I said, I'm naming this Four Horsemen. You can't name it that. I said, yes, I am, just because you said that. So that's kind of how it got named. And, it was, some of my good friends, and I figured, we'll name it that because that was our group text for so long. So
you were showing me your old cork that you initially started with whenever you started the old Four Horsemen. Tell me about that.
The original wire it's still a good cork. It's still a good wire, but sometimes it will bend when you hook if a big bull red eats it,
mm-hmm.
or if a customer grabs it the wrong way and pulls the fish up, it will bend. And then sometimes it's hard to bend back, but you can bend it back with pliers. And that was the only kind of knock on this cork, is that the wire can bend. So there's some material out there called titanium, but you had to crimp it. But as the crimp, it always failed and it always breaking. So that's why I never came out with it. But whenever I found this titanium blend wire that you can actually bend, you can actually twist the top of it and bend it, and it'll come back straight, that was it. Game over.
So you're selling these right now?
Just came out with these like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So I'm going to have to buy my husband one.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But part of your, I guess, goal in developing that one specifically is the popping, for the sound of the popping of the cork.
Yeah, both these corks sound really well. It's just this one is the wire. It can bend back and forth in case, like, if a redfish eats it all, or
right.
if a customer grabs it the wrong way, or
right.
if you net a fish and it gets tangled in the net and the fish is going crazy, the wire could bend
mm-hmm.
on this one, and it's hard to get it back. This one, it could bend. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's going back straight.
Down the bayou innovation.
That's right.
So tell me in Four Horsemen Tackle, we have corks, but you also have artificial bait.
Yep, a new shrimp we call the boom boom shrimp. So there was this one type of bait that we used a lot, and we caught a lot of fish on it, but the company kept on softening up the plastic. So you go through so many on a trip. I was like, man, I got to do something because we're going through so many. So me and Lane Zimmer, who owns Froggy Moore Manufacturing in Marrero, and he also owns Death Grip Jig Heads, which he makes a jig head. So we started tinking around in 2020. It took us 2 years, molds, testing. The two main things that I wanted to do was, when we poured the plastic around the hook, we want the plastic to hold on for 25, 30 trout.
Right.
Secondly, I want this bait to glide down the water versus sinking. So as a shrimp swims through the water, it glides versus sinking. So I want to have the most natural presentation to a trout. So a trout sits on the reef, oyster bed or whatever, and they're sitting there waiting for a shrimp to come by. So if you can mimic a shrimp gliding down, you get more of a reaction strike. So, and after 2 years, we've finally come up with a pretty awesome bait, and it's taken off pretty good.
So Aaron, you brought some of your bait with you here today, and like I have to know, like, how do you decide like what color or what, I see like shiny glitter inside. Like, how do you come up with those ideas?
Well, there's a lot of colors out there on the market, so we're kind of sticking to the basic colors that's been proven over 20, 30 years, and then we kind of tinker them a little bit. Like one bait like this kind of mimics a white shrimp with the red legs. Other baits might mimic like a certain type of bait fish, the way like the scales were glistening like if the sun's shining through the water. Also too, like the water's dirty, you want to have something that kind of stands out. Like I have one like this it's a glow color, so it kind of glows in the water, so that one works better in dirtier water. And then I have some that are more clear, so when you use it in more clear water, like in the summertime on the beach, you want to have more of like of a metallic flake in it to mimic like a pogey flashing, or like if you haven't noticed, like a real shrimp tail, it's got these iridescent on the tail, so it kind of mimics that too. So different colors for different watercolors.
Gotcha. And this is like just knowledge that you obtained during your guide service?
Yeah, I've been guiding since '96 and fishing since I've been, like I remember, 5 years old. So just being in the industry
Good observations.
For that long, and then you think a color, it's like, man, that color, it's not going to work. And then next thing you know, people's like, man, make this color. I'm like, it's like crazy orange and blue and green. And I don't know, like I try to think how a fish looks and thinks of something in the water.
Right.
Try to be on their level. Try to figure out what they like.
In
if
your
you can figure out what they
pool.
like, then you're going to catch.
Right. In your dad's pool. So tell me, like, where are you selling these right now?
Right now, I'm selling from North Carolina to Florida all the way down to Brownsville, Texas.
So, and it's my understanding that you're like on Amazon and Academy. Yeah. You're still selling at the Down the Bayou Rouses.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I got a distributor. Folsom's a distributor. Big Rock distributor. I got a rep group, OMG, on the East Coast. And I got a salesman in Louisiana, Ronnie Sherman. He sells for me stores. And then I got all kind of tackle stores that just randomly call me.
That's awesome.
That I ship to also. So then I got all these fishing guides that, I mean, every day, just
wow.
So my wife Dana, she was able to quit teaching, and she does a lot of shipping and invoicing and all the website sales.
Wow.
And
so we have a Down the Bayou boy.
Yep.
Making fishing tackle at a Marrero manufacturer.
Yep.
But you were telling us before the podcast, these are actually packaged here in South Lafourche.
Yep. So it's Lafourche and Terrebonne. I got people in Terrebonne and Lafourche that are putting the carts together for me. I buy all the components. Mm-hmm. They put them together for me. They package them. I get the boxes. Me and my wife ship them out.
That's amazing. So you, like, is there like an entrepreneurial spirit about like your family at all? Like, are you just identified that this was a need and tackled it?
Well, I came up with this cart for me personally. Mm-hmm. Like, if it didn't sell, oh well, at least I have something I could use in my charters.
Right.
So I was focusing on getting something that I like to use. Uh-huh. And that therefore it would help me in my fishing business, but I never thought that it would take off like this. Like,
right.
Like it's crazy. I never imagined that it would take off this fast. Like really just starting, it's legit out my garage.
Right.
Like I had a garage that I had my golf cart in, and I closed that off, and now that's the shipping shop. I don't make them in there, but
right.
I keep all the product in there, and we ship everything out.
So tell me, you said that the reason you kind of got into the tackle business was because you were doing guide service work. When did you start that?
In '96.
And it's primarily here in South Lafourche?
Yeah, Leeville. Okay. Leeville, Golden Meadow Food Shop, but I mainly leave out of Leeville now. Trout's my main specialty, and then also redfish, but I mainly go after trout. That's what I'm known for. A lot of my customers, 90% of my customers, they want to go after trout.
So tell me, like, if I want to hire you as a guide service, like, how do I get in touch with you?
You can get on social media, but I pretty much have all repeat customers.
Really?
And then those customers will tell other people, because I can only do so many trips a year.
Right.
So I don't advertise. I don't have a website, but I do have like a little page on Four Horsemen Tackle's page that you can go see about us, our guiding information.
Gotcha.
So.
And so if I want to buy Four Horsemen tackle, and I'm from this area, where can I go buy it?
Oh, you can go to Rouse's and go to the Meadow. You can go to the T-Pops, Goose, and go to the Meadow. You can go to Walmart. You can go to Melico. You can go to Renovations. If you're in Leeville, you can go to Terry's. If you're in Fouchon, you can go to Moran's. If you can go to Meadow, if you're in Grand Isle, you can go to Bridgeside and I think Island Dollar. So
I love that you like figured that out. You know, like I guess the people from around here are not always looked upon as like the most intelligent or the most educated, or but just identifying something that's like needed in a market and working on it and testing it in your dad's swimming pool. And I think that's really, really cool.
Thanks.
It's really cool for other, like kids in this area to see, like, if I really want to do something,
Right.
It doesn't matter, just
the main thing is doing it because you love to do it.
Right.
Not just doing it because I think if you don't do it because you don't love it, you're not going to have that passion to persist when you come across a certain challenge or a bump in the road.
Right.
That love and desire will get you over that hump versus you just doing it to make money. Mm-hmm. That's the way I look at it.
And really having a passion to try to identify like what works and not just what sells.
Yes.
Yeah.
I went to do it not for selling, but for what physically works. Like, as we say in the industry, there's a lot of tackle out there
Right.
that catches the fisherman but doesn't catch the fish.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going after, hey, I want my product to catch fish, and in turn, that will catch a fisherman to buy it.
Absolutely. My husband's a fan, so.
Thank you. So, yeah.
So tell me, I know you said that you have the ag business.
Ag business, plant science.
Right. So tell me, like, you said that you were just interested in finding a job that you love to do.
Right.
You seem like a guy who's an outdoorsy kind of guy,
Yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
to fish, like to hunt, I would imagine.
Grew up hunting and fishing with my dad. My grandpa, Lee, Ontario, had a camp behind Golden Meadow. I was back there my whole life. I used to take out guys from my dad played football at Louisiana Tech, and he'd bring down his buddies, and he's like, hey, go take them fishing. So I get in the little 18-foot aluminum boat and go take them fishing in the marsh. And I was kind of like, man, I could probably make some money on the side doing some trips like that. So I grew up fishing Golden Meadow, Leeville area.
Awesome. So you said Lee Ontario's your grandfather?
Yes, my mom's dad.
Okay. So what is it like growing up with Lee Ontario as your grandpa?
It was fun. It was fun. All the stories and just a great grandpa.
Yeah. So if I understand correctly, he is obviously who we have our floodgates named after. But he also was the first director at South Lafourche Levee District.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah. So do you have memories of like going out with him out there?
I never went on the job with him, but I spent countless hours, countless weekends, weeks in the summertime growing up as a kid at his camp in Golden Meadow with him and my grandma. But it was me and my grandma that did all the fishing.
Yeah.
My grandpa would leave, come up the bayou, go play 18 holes of golf, come back and have lunch ready for when we came in.
Oh.
So we come in, hey, we clean the fish, have lunch. Then we go back out, fish again, and he would hang out and relax out there and have supper for us.
That's awesome. So what was your grandma's name?
Laura May.
Laura May.
So we call her Honey.
Terrio. God,
And
so
we
Laura.
call my grandpa Leon Chief.
Gotcha.
So, Honey and Chief.
So Laura May Terrio, the original fisherman expert.
That's right. She told me everything she knows and ask her.
Yeah.
She's still alive. She lives in Golden Meadow.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So talk to me about your ag business venture that you embarked upon.
So back in 2004, I went get plants from the Plant Material Center. I got one species of plant called smooth core grass. So what happens is we fish April, May, June, July, September, October. It kind of gets slow in the winter months, And that's when this business takes off. You do the planting in the winter months and the spring months. So I was trying to fill a void when it was slow, because I'm not the one just to sit around, you know. So, but Dad has some property, and I built 2 ponds behind the house and put these plants in there. And it was like doing these little bitty called salt district jobs. They made a job for like maybe 4,000, 5,000 plants. I try to bid on it, try to get it. You know, doing a little bit of jobs here and there. And then one trip in July, I did a lot of trips for Danos. So they hired me. They were having a board directors meeting. They hired me to take some of the guys fishing. So we started fishing, took them out, and one of the guys was like, yeah, I'm working with this company called RES. We're doing this coastal stuff, and we're looking for some marsh grass plants. I was like, well, what kind? He's like, smooth core grass. I was like, well, I got a bunch. He's like, really? I'm like, yeah, I got some. He's like, no way. I was like, yeah, I have a little nursery. He's like, oh, I'm going to get the land guy to give you a call. So this was probably about, I did it in 2004, and then probably about beginning of 2008, that summer. That's when I took the board of directors for RES. He was a board director for RES and on the board of directors for Danos.
Oh, wow.
So that's how that one guy named John Elstrott, he got the land guy to call me. So we started talking, and he's like, man, we really need a bunch of plants for one of our mitigation banks in Terrebonne Parish. I was like, well, I mean, I have a bunch if you want to buy some. He's like, yeah, but we want to buy them at a cheaper price and start our own nursery and grow them out, because what if you come work for us? I was like, well, I don't know. I said, so we negotiated, and sure enough, they bought all my plants, and I went to start a nursery in Montague, which is now the largest nursery in Louisiana.
Wow. And
we do the largest amount of coastal restoration installation and growing plants probably in the whole Gulf Coast.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So my brother and I, when we were in high school, we worked for Mitch Pete, and
Cool.
He was also doing a similar project in that he had a nursery. He was growing the plants, and then the women would like kind of separate them into plugs, if I remember
plugs,
correctly.
yes.
And then the guys would go out, and the particular job we worked on was in Chandeleur Island. So that is backbreaking work.
It is. It is.
But so just for our listeners who kind of don't understand how this process works, explain to me, like, if you are a cordgrass grower, like, who are your customers? Who's buying from you?
Some of the main customers are CPRA, Coastal Protection Restoration Authority. They build all these big berry islands, and then they put bids out for the plants, and we bid on them. And if we get it, we'll grow them out, we'll deliver them to the island, and we'll install them. Another big customer is Ducks Unlimited. So they build in all these terraces all over from Lake Charles area all the way to over here. So they go and they find big open ponds or bays, and they'll build these big earthen terraces. And then we get with all the construction company, the marsh bucket companies. So, like, we'll do jobs for Dean Equipment, Weeks Marine, Wilco, sometimes Wilkes. So we have several different companies that will do jobs for us. So we just a sub of them, and then they'll build 30,000 feet of terraces, and then we'll come back and put 25,000 plants all around it. And that helps lock in the soil.
Right.
For the wave action.
Just so all of our listeners understand, you said, like, with CPRA, they go out and build barrier islands. So these barrier islands are kind of around our low-lying marsh areas. And the bigger our barrier islands, the kind of, I guess, like, less wave impact we have from,
helps
like,
with storm surge.
Right, storm surge and hurricanes.
Making barrier islands along the coast. Like, just today, I was on West Grand Terre. We're putting around 60,000 plants out there.
Wow.
So they just pumped in and built up the beach to a certain elevation. So to help where the sand doesn't fly off, we come back and put a sand fence, and a 4-foot sand fence, and then we could put plants on the outside the sand fence. We'll put 10 to 12 rows on the outside in combination with the sand fence. So the sand fence that we put up in October of last year already has 3 foot of sand already built up on it.
Wow.
So that would have been going off the island if it wasn't for that sand fence.
Absolutely.
And then we had to wait for the spring for the plants to be ready, and that's we finishing up the plants.
And so the plants grow, their root system.
So the plant grows with the sand dune. As the plants collect the sand, it builds a dune, and these are specialized dune plants, bitter panicum and sea oats. They grow up with the dune. Versus if you try to put some other plants, the sand would just smother them and they'd die.
Right.
These are specialized dune plants from the Plant Material Center that we get and propagate out, and then they grow up with the dune as the dune grows. So a great example was the one we did on Elmer's Island. If any of the listeners have been out there, they built the island up. We put the plants, and after 3 years, they had 4 and 5 foot dunes way up with the plants.
Wow.
And I got a bunch of before and after pictures, which is pretty cool.
That's amazing.
And then Ida came and wiped it out.
Thanks a lot, Ida.
Yeah.
So you, beforehand, we were kind of chit-chatting, and you kind of told me a list of the places that you've been with RES doing coastal restoration projects. And I mean, it really seems to just be across the entire Gulf Coast, like from the tips of Texas.
We did from Freeport, from San Jose Island, which is by Corpus Christi, and then all the way to Pensacola, Florida. And I've already shipped black mangroves to Belize already.
Wow.
Yeah.
Do y'all do any like private sector mitigation work?
Yeah, we do a lot. Our main company, the main business is we do a lot of mitigation. And then, so the nursery helps the mitigation banks.
So I want to explain to our listeners what exactly that means as well. So when a private company wants to either build something or pass some sort of pipeline or build a well, for whatever land they use or destroy, they have to then plant, right?
So whatever, it has to be a wetland. So whatever
Right.
wetland they destroy, they have to buy credits from a piece of property that was converted prior, I think, 89.
Mm-hmm.
Then we go back in there and replant it and keep it monitored for 15, 20 years. And they can buy the credits for what they've taken out.
Right. And so the use of the wetlands, the government's ensured that they are fixing wetlands either close by or...
Well, it's not really fixing wetlands. So,
Mm-hmm.
like, say you have an area that's wet, they want to build a pipeline or big neighborhood. So you have to go find land that was once wetland at first, but then prior to that, now it's a pasture land,
Mm-hmm.
cropland, or it might be a land that just was cleared and is just full of tallow trees. So we go and get the land, prep the land, get it right, and come back and put back the bottomland hardwood trees or the special type of wetland plants in there to bring it back to what it once was. So you just can't take a wetland here. You mess up this wetland, you just can't go and say, "Oh, I'm a
fix this one."
it already has stuff, plants growing on it already.
Right.
It has to be pretty much like was a wetland, now it's used for something else. Let's convert it back into what it was before.
Okay. So preserving the wetlands.
Bringing it back to what it was prior to being cleared out
Right.
and used for cattle or farmland. But it can't be under pump. So most of it has to be out in nature where it's fluctuated with the tide or Mother Nature. It can't be in a levied off system.
Right.
Where it's under pumped, where you can manipulate the water flow in and out.
Right. So that area of RES is like large. Like
Yeah.
what is? I guess I'm trying to figure out like what is the.
So we have probably, 25, 30 states. The main office was in Houston. Now it's Baton Rouge. Now it's in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, I think, 1,000 people that work for the company now.
Wow.
But I was one of the first ones that started in 2008.
Yeah.
It was probably 10 or 11 employee. I'm still with them now, so
Yeah.
it's pretty cool to see that company grow. And then I'll go help out. Like we have nurseries now, 4 or 5 nurseries throughout the country, and then we all kind of swap ideas and help each other out. We have a nursery in Texas, and I'll go help them over there a little bit. I'll send them plants and stuff. So
How is like coastal restoration efforts? I would imagine in Texas versus this area versus Florida, they're different.
it's basically all the same. You just got to kind of they're just rebuilding what's been taken out by hurricanes or
Right.
erosion. It's it's kind of the same, just kind of plant species will differ a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but it's all the same. Like the ones we did in Florida, a little bit different design of the restoration part versus Louisiana.
So tell me, you mentioned that Hurricane Ida had some significant impacts on Elmer's Island. You still do guide service work. I'm not an avid fisherman, but I know I talk to clients, I talk to friends, I talk to my husband. They all say that the marsh is significantly different post-Ida. It's almost unrecognizable. They don't know, kind of direction-wise. You kind of had an idea, like, I turn at this camp or I, turn at this pass, and a lot of it's really not there anymore. So tell our listeners, like, what are you seeing out there? Like, what does it all look like post-Ida?
It was it's pretty sad, because, like, we have all these different ways we travel through the marsh. And just a lot of marsh got uprooted and filled in canals where you can't even pass anymore.
Right.
So we are, every trip we're learning new ways to pass. We're getting stuck on little underwater islands. I mean, we're hitting stuff. I mean, it's just not easy. Once you get away from the levee system, once you get further away, it's better. But the marsh that's closer to the levee, I think everything was hitting the levee and kind of backing up, kind of a wash machine effect. And that marsh was filling in canals and doing different things that just makes us hindrance to travel where we used to travel, I mean, thank God for levee system. I mean,
absolutely,
helped out unbelievable. But in turn, like it kind of washed some of that marsh back and filled in a lot of canals that are close to the levee.
So post Hurricane Ida, are you seeing like the influx of coastal restoration efforts again?
They're talking and they're trying to come up with plans to fix Grand Isle. They just did West Timber Island. They're looking at doing more pelican rookeries, like they did Queen Bess. Hopefully they want to do some more in Timber Bay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we still have plenty of BP money for like at least 10 years.
Right. To
keep on doing all these big large scale projects. So yeah, it's a lot of projects going on right now. A lot of projects. I just did a big project in Venice called Spanish Pass. It's 5-mile ridge.
Wow.
That they built and we put plants on them. I drove the truck on it. It was
that's amazing.
It was 2 or 3 foot of water. Now we're driving trucks on it.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're doing a lot of work. A lot of people doesn't see the work because it's not easy to get to these barrier islands.
Right.
It's not like in Florida. They do a project on the coast. Everybody sees it. Right. Everybody's behind it. Mm-hmm. Nobody sees these projects because, like, sometimes you got to go 45 minutes to an hour boat ride just to get to the work they did. So it's not being publicized. It's publicized, but it's different when you visually see it.
Right.
So it's a whole different deal.
My husband's a land surveyor for GIS engineering.
Okay.
And so I guess I hear about a lot more of those projects than the average, person, just because he has taken those hour-and-a-half boat rides out to, these little islands that they have to survey and I guess check the, levels pre-restoration and then post-restoration. But, I mean, I commend you for that work because that really has always been something that, when I was younger, I said I wanted to practice law and I wanted to work in coastal restoration. But I kind of, I don't have an ag business background or anything like that. But, I mean, I think that's amazing that you kind of use your skill set to really kind of give back to your community and have a passion for, growing plants, identifying, problems and being able to kind of tackle them and then sharing your expertise with people from other communities to, help them in their times of need.
Yeah, because on my dad's side, my grandpa and great-grandpa were sugarcane farmers. And then on my mom's side, my great-grandpa were shrimpers. So kind of doing both plants and on the water. So it's pretty cool.
That's good. That's good. Tell me, like, what do you think my brother and I, we kind of credit so much of our spirit for wanting to help people or preserve our history towards like how amazing our grandparents and our parents were growing up. What can you think back to memories you have with your grandparents or your parents that really kind of inspired you to do what you do today?
Well, they were always so friendly and want to just invite over and feed people and just welcome in and just get to know them and just being kind and want to be a good host and always being nice to other people in the bayou. And then people that come down, like I've taken so many different people fishing throughout my years, and they always, man, we gotta come back and meet your dad again. He's just so nice. He's always got good stories. So.
Have you ever like hosted any like really interesting people or famous people?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did a few. I did take out Tennessee Titans. Well, I was coach Tennessee Titans Jeff Fisher.
Oh wow.
Took him fishing. One of my customers is Scott Woodward, LSU's AD.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So yeah.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
So Aaron, like, tell me, what does the future hold for Four Horsemen Tackle and Guide Service? What's the future of your, position with RES?
I guess I'll start with RES. So, no, I mean I want to continue, keep on growing plants and running nursery crews and keep on doing these Berry Island projects in the winter and in the spring. Yeah, definitely keep that going. As far as guiding, I do most of my trips in the summertime where the plants are growing in the nursery, and I don't really need to be there a whole lot. So that's when I do most of my trips. I want to keep on doing that. And then thirdly, Four Horsemen Tackle, I don't have any new products right now. I got a few things in my head that might work, but it's gonna take more testing. Since I just came out with this new wire cork, let that go for a year or two. I don't want to just come up with so much stuff right away. It just gets overwhelming.
Right.
I want people, hey, it took me 5 years to come out with a new, not type of cork, but a new material in the cork. It took me 5 years. It took me 4 years, right at 4 years to come out with something new. So,
right.
When I do something, I got to make sure it goes through all the tests.
Right.
To make sure that I would like to use it on my charters and my customers use it before I even come out with it.
You working with like any like professionals or anything? You talked a lot about making sure your products are like tested.
So the company in Marrero, he has a CNC machine. He does AutoCAD. So his name is Lane Zimmer. I want to give him props. He has death grip jig heads. Only jig heads I use. They're awesome. They hold the baits on there really well. Mm-hmm. And he was the one that helped me design the lead design on the hook that's on this Boom Boom Shrimp hook. Mm-hmm. I actually have a patent pending on that design. It's a triangle ring shank design that faces forward and backwards, so when you pour the plastic around this bait, it's locked in no matter how the fish holds it, and you can catch 25, 30 fish on it.
Wow. So
maybe in the future I'll come up with different baits using this lead design.
Right.
But for now, just doing the Boom Boom Shrimp, and then might start working next year on maybe some different types of baits using this lead design.
Right. So at the end of every show, we have a round of rapid fire questions related to life on the bayou. You can give us a one-word answer or expand on your answer if you feel like you need to explain. It's up to you. So, are you ready?
Ready.
White beans, do they go on top of the jambalaya or on the side?
Oh, the side.
My husband's from New Roads.
They don't touch.
They always go on top of the jambalaya.
They don't touch.
If you can have a final meal, what would it be and who would have cooked it?
Dang, it's pretty... I'd probably get my Grandpa Leonterra to cook me a steak and my dad to boil crawfish.
Shad bed. What is your favorite snowball flavor?
The bubble gum.
From where?
Guess probably to chill out.
I mean, we're kind of impartial to Missy Lane's over here because we're in La Rose.
Yeah, this is kind of a little far to drive, you know.
Yeah, I understand.
Back then, going from Cutoff to La Rose, that was, you know.
That's a big trick. So, jar roux, sometimes or never?
I don't like it.
No?
I can tell a difference.
Yeah.
Pretty much. I mean, I'm not saying 100%, but...
Yeah. You a cooker or your wife's the cooker?
I do most of the cooking. I'll make my own roux. our fried fish, jambalaya, gumbo.
I mean, just
red
invite me
beans,
over next time.
barbecue.
Okay, last rapid fire question. At a Down the Bayou wedding reception, what is the first song that comes to mind that you know you're going to hear?
Brown Eyed Girl.
Okay, so that'll do it for this episode of the DTP podcast. Thank you again to our guest, Aaron Pierce. We sincerely appreciate your time. You can subscribe to the DTP podcast on Apple, Google, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. You can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at the DTP podcast. You can also follow Bless Your Heart Nonprofit on Facebook or on Twitter at BYH Nonprofit. You can donate to Bless Your Heart Nonprofit via Venmo at Bless Your Heart Nonprofit and PayPal at blessyourheartnonprofit@gmail.com. That'll wrap it up for us on the DTB podcast. Be sure to hit that subscribe button for our next episode. Until then, this is Jure Jean Bonjaro. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you next time.